they laid her off with a day's notice. Well, it wasn't even a day's notice. They called her in when she was working a shift at the beginning of her shift and said, we're firing you and your entire team today, effective right now. So she was a little shocked by it, but to be honest, I saw it coming. I saw the things that they were doing, and I was pretty clear that they were going to
Oh,
get rid of her entire department. But nobody wants to see that when it's coming, right? That's a difficult thing.
right. Holy shit.
Yeah. So
Well, maybe to better and bigger things.
yeah, that's how it usually goes, right? I was excited that she lost a job. She said she liked it, but she's a nurse, so this was the best job that she's had. But they still treated her pretty terribly. So hoping that she could find something a little better.
Right. Well, now she's going to be forced to, right? Because it's like, well, you put up with shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you are there. Oh, I don't remember. I'm sure that I asked you when we first met, but is it okay if I cuss when we are doing the interview? Or you want me to keep it clean?
Yeah, do your thing. Be yourself.
Okay. Um, I'm sure that she was like, yeah, this is not right, but okay, whatever. And now she's going to be forced to um, go somewhere else, and hopefully it's going to be better for her.
That's right. And she learned a lot about what employees are to the majority of these companies, especially in places like healthcare. They don't seem to care about people at all. Well, I know they don't. They just see them as numbers. And so she learned a lot of lessons about sacrificing herself, killing herself for the company because they're just going to throw you to the curb when they're done with you.
The same shit happened to me about 20 years ago. And that's when I learned that I'm going to put myself first. Like I was going to work, I couldn't barely walk, and I was still going to work. And one day I showed up for work and they were like, we don't have any more work for you. So it's like, okay, you are absolutely right. You had to put yourself first.
Yeah. What did you end up doing after that?
I got another job that it was actually better, a better environment. So it's like, oh, all right. These motherfuckers were not the only one who could give me a job. But the lesson that I
That's
learned
right.
was like, they didn't remember I went to work when I couldn't even walk, and none of that mattered when they didn't have a job for me anymore.
Yeah. They don't
So
see
I got
humans
replaced like
as
that.
human
I was
beings at all,
like,
just
oh, okay.
numbers.
I never, right. It's like a number and what you can produce. So I was like, oh, okay, lesson learned. Like, if I cannot walk, I'm going to stay home and rest because that's what my body needs.
How did you learn that? Was it this situation that with the job that taught you that?
Yeah, that opened my eyes tremendously because I was like, no, like I have my dad had an extremely high work ethic, and he will do the same thing. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, okay, no, I will do. I have a high work ethic, and I'll give 1,000%, but not at the expense of my health. So it was like,
Yeah.
mm-mm, I need to take care of me.
Yeah, that's right. And then I saw that you had quite a health situation that you navigated. How did that play into this dynamic?
Mm-hmm. So that was a lot. That was probably 15 years after this situation at work. I was, I was, I just graduated with my Bachelor of Social Work. I was 46, on track to do my Master's of Social Work. And 6 weeks after graduation, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was like, oh, life is what happens when you have other plans. So I took care of my health. I moved back to Argentina, and I took care of my health. And then I was 49, and I wanted to celebrate my 50th birthday in Las Vegas. That's where I was living at the time of the diagnosis. And I asked God for a sign, and be careful what you ask for. I asked for a sign, and I got a banner. I got an email from the university where I graduated with my bachelor's saying like, "Hey, we have the advanced master program back. Do you want to enroll?" Which it was the idea when I got the diagnosis. So I was like, yes. So I moved back, went back to Las Vegas, and I celebrated my 50th birthday while I was going for my master's. And I graduated at 51 and became independently licensed at 53 and a half. So my motto is I had cancer. Cancer didn't have me. And what I mean by that is that if anything, cancer came to show me how bad I wanted to be a therapist because it didn't stop me. It only delayed me, right? Like nobody would have blamed me if
Mm.
I was working in accounting before I started my bachelor's of social work, and nobody would have blamed me if I went back to accounting. And I was like, no, this is what I wanted to, what I want to do, and I did it, and I'm doing it.
How did the shift feel into doing something that you really wanted to do, and how did that affect your health?
For the first time, I'm doing what I really want to do, and I think that it affected my health for the better. So I feel more grounded. I am more present. I am working a lot less than I used to, which improve my physical, mental, and emotional health. So I think that when you are true, and I'm truly passionate about what I do, so it's like oh, it doesn't feel like working.
So, what was it about therapy that drew you into this?
I had this thing growing up, even as a teenager and a young woman, where people will come to me and tell me shit that, and they were like, "Oh, I never shared that with anybody." That's right. All right. And I will give you feedback of what I thought at the time. And it just came natural to me. And then I was doing therapy. I done therapy half of my life. And I was in an abusive relationship at the time. And I didn't know I was being abused. And I think that my therapist truly saved my life. And I was like, oh, I consider myself a smart, intelligent, educated woman. And if I didn't know I was being abused, how many women might be out there who they might not know this? So I was like, I think I want to do this. I want to help. I want to make helping other people help themselves my my mission in life.
Huh? How was it when you started seeing that you were in this abusive relationship and was life changing, as you said, or I think you said that she saved your life? What was that like for you when you were seeing that?
It was like a shock because it was a cultural component to it. My therapist is from the United States, and I'm from Argentina, and my boyfriend at the time is was from Argentina too. And a lot of the things that were going on in the relationship is like what normal thing in the culture were. So it was like, oh no, no, 'cause like I was very depressed and suicidal. And I told her, I said, I don't know why I'm so depressed. And she was like, you're being abused. And I was like, oh no, no, he doesn't, no, no, he doesn't touch me. Because in my understanding of abuse is like abuse is I beat the shit out of you and I send you to the hospital. And that's when I learned about emotional abuse and financial abuse and verbal abuse. And it was like I was being sexually abused and I didn't know that that was abused because it's like, oh, I didn't want to have sex, but you wanted to have sex, so I had sex. And it's like, I didn't know that I could say no to my partner because in
You didn't
that
know about
culture, you
boundaries.
don't, basically. Right. So it was like, oh, it really doesn't matter what I want. So I went into this depressive state, but I didn't realize all these things. I always tell my clients, when you are in the picture, you cannot see the picture, right? Like, so I was in that picture, I was in that
Sure.
situation, and I couldn't see it. And
Yeah.
I came across an Instagram post not too long ago where the person was saying, like, send this to someone who saved your life, but they might have not known that they saved your life at the time. And I sent it to her. I sent it to my
Mhm.
therapist. I'm not doing therapy with her anymore, but she was like, "Oh, that brought tears, happy tears to my eyes." And so I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, this is very important. So here we see the dynamics, cultural dynamics of what do relationships look like and even what is abuse? Um, what are boundaries? I'm curious, you said that you were very depressed. What did the depression mean? What did it look like to you?
I, I didn't have any energy. Like I use all my energy to go to
Hmm.
work, and then I will come back home and crash, and not like I didn't want to do anything. Um, Emotionally and mentally, I will cry myself to sleep every night. Um, Again, I felt so trapped, but I didn't know how to come out of that situation. And it was kind of like I use all my energy for work and to put a smile in my face on my face for work, and that depleted me of energy. So that was the only thing basically I was doing. Um,
Hmm.
and again, my work ethic. So my therapist and my work ethic uh, saved me, literally, right? Because I didn't matter how
Yeah.
bad I was feeling. I needed to go to work. So I was like, oh, okay. I see that now. At the time, it was like, oh, I need to work, right? Like, so at the same time that I didn't want to live like anymore like this, I still needed to pay rent, and I did what I needed to do in order to continue living, right? Like, so basically the
Yeah.
feeling was I don't think I ever was going to kill myself, but the feeling was like if I don't wake up, it would be a lot better. Which now I understand I
Yeah.
was tired. And when you are tired, you need to rest.
Hmm.
But I was tired of the pain. And
Hmm.
I not
Okay.
necessarily
So
wanted to
tired
die.
of the
I wanted the
pain.
pain to stop.
Yeah. What were you doing with that pain, the sadness that was there? What were you doing with it?
Nothing. That was prior to therapy.
Yeah, of course.
So I was
So,
just
okay. So
surviving.
the
Again,
work did,
like
yeah, just surviving.
how did I get
What
into
was the work
therapy
doing
was
for you?
because there was it was keeping me alive. It literally was distracting me,
Mhm.
right? It gave me
Distracting you.
something to
Ah.
do.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it's like because I had to pay rent, right? Like I mean, like I don't want to be
Yeah.
homeless. On top of the pain, I don't want to be
Hmm.
homeless.
Yeah. Yeah. That this makes perfect sense in terms of depression. There's a lot of pain. We're not able to do anything with it. We don't know what to do with it. And then we have distractions like work where you get validated, where they tell you, oh, you're doing a good job. You know, I get a sense of value out of this and it pays the bills too. And of course, then there is the lack of energy. Do you know, I'm curious, do you know what the literal meaning, the literal definition of depression is? There's two parts to it.
What is it?
The first part is to bury something. So so if you bury power lines, they've been depressed. And the second part is to take away its energy. So if something is depressed, it's usually buried and it's had its
Holy
energy taken away,
shit.
which is
Okay.
exactly what you just described. So to tie that all together, what was the thing that was getting buried?
Myself, who
Yeah.
I am as a person, I disappeared
So many
because
dynamics of who we
I
are get
was
buried in that, not
too
just our
much.
feelings.
Right. But it was too much. It was too emotional, or I needed too much of whatever at the time. Right. That's what my partner was telling me. And I was so isolated. Like my family was in Argentina, I was in Las Vegas. I was isolated from friends. And so it was like he was the only source of information. So if you are telling me that I'm too much, I'm going to believe it. So then I had to
Was
dim
that the
my
first time in your
light
life that
and
somebody
not
had
be
called you
so
too much?
needy. No, I had those dynamics with my family growing up
Oh,
because I rocked the boat all the time.
yes. Hmm. So, how did you learn to adapt to that then when you were growing up, for instance, with your family, and they're telling you, Zulma, you're too much. You're too needy. You have too much expression, too much emotions. How did you adapt to that?
Well, I will resist to the best of my ability and fight and have an argument or whatever, and then I will eventually like calm down and be back in my lane per se. But again, it's a survival mechanism, right? Like I depend depended on them because I wasn't working yet,
Hmm.
and then I was depending on them because even when I was working, I was still living with my mom because the economic situation in Argentina didn't allow me to move out, having a job. So it's like, oh,
Yeah, of
it's like, okay, I push to a certain level because I still need to survive.
course. So, you're drawing attention to the dynamic here of having to choose between your attachments, which as children we're dependent on. We can't survive without them. Even when we're young adolescents, we can't survive without our connections and our attachments to our parents. But when our emotions, our expression, the person that we are threatens our attachments, then we have to choose either between our authenticity of who we are or our attachments. And one of those two always gets sacrificed. We can survive without one of them, but we can't survive without the other one. So this dynamic of depression that manifested and it really came to the light when you were in this abusive relationship really showed this dynamic that has been with you for your entire life, which was a survival mechanism. It's something that really helped and saved you at one point.
Right. Absolutely. And then it saved me again because when he was telling me you are too much, I dimmed my light because he was the only thing that I had, basically. Well, I had myself and I had my job. We were not living together. But emotionally, it's like, oh. And I want to mention something because abuse, especially emotional abuse, doesn't happen overnight. Right? It's not like, oh, you're not gonna go with your friends. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go with my friends. Oh, really? Because we don't spend that much time together. Why don't you just stay and we watch a movie? Right? So it's not you're not going out with your friends. Is that, oh, really? Like you want to go to your mom's or to your sister? They really don't like me. Like I don't have a good time when we go to their house. So, well, okay, we just stay, right? Like, so we are adapting to that. And then eventually your friends don't call you anymore because you're always canceling plans. And you don't want to tell your family because of the shame involved in that. And you don't want to worry them. And it's not something that happens all the time. So the intermittent reinforcement of this guy is an asshole, this guy is the best thing ever, is what keeps you in the loop. Like kind of like when you go to the casino and It's like, oh, I'm only going to put $10 in the machine. And then you are down to 8 and you're like, okay, I'm going to walk away. And then it spits $3. So you just get trapped into that. $500 later, you're still trying to catch up. So it's not like this was happening 24/7. It was like you are too needy to, oh my God, you are the best thing ever on earth. Right? It was like, oh my God, I'm never going to do that again. And tears to, where the fuck are you going to go? Nobody's going to want you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so those dynamics
Very bipolar.
that keep repeating. I mean, the cycles are like, my therapist at the time, she asked me to write down the entire relationship from beginning to end. And then she identified all the cycles of abuse in what I have written.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
was so eye-opening to me.
Yeah. And where it gets really interesting is just from the little bit that you've told me here, there's a lot of parallels between your early relationships and this relationship. So at some point, we learn what relationships look like. And if you had to sacrifice yourself to maintain your attachments that you were dependent on as a child, that's what a connection, that's what compassion, that's what love looks like. And so then we end up looking for that exact same dynamic later in life.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yes.
Where it gets really interesting is our immune systems are a part of us, and they're often regarded as like the floating brain in our body. They hold memory and information, and the immune system is designed to identify threats in the body. And then we have these natural killer cells and things like that that take out the threats. So if an infection starts to grow in our body, or we get some sort of virus, our immune system becomes aware that that is something external from the body. It's a threat, and then it goes and neutralizes it. But when we learn that our expression is the threat, our emotions are the threat, they're too much. And so then we try to stuff those down, to depress our expression, to depress our emotions, and to mask who we are because it's going to threaten our relationships. Well, then our immune system becomes very confused, and it starts to see our body as the threat. And the things that are threats inside of us can go underneath the radar, kind of like being in an abusive relationship. It goes under the radar. We don't recognize that this person here is a threat, or that this situation is a threat, and our immune system is synchronized with that. And then this is the foundation for all sorts of conditions, which is also something similar to, sounds like, what you went through.
Right. Absolutely.
That, of course, is not to blame you. That's not to blame you in any
Absolutely.
way. Those are just the dynamics that you learned, and this is how it plays out. But it sounds like you were really able to see these dynamics and exercise choices to do something else. So I'm curious, how did the whole treatment thing for breast cancer play out? And have you had any recurrences? And what does that look like for you?
So, no, I am happy to report 14 years of being cancer free. But my cancer, so I got diagnosed in Las Vegas, and I got surgery and radiation in Las Vegas, and then I continue my treatment in Argentina. At the time, when I went to Argentina to a public hospital that specializes in cancer, that's all the hospital does. They wanted to do chemo as a preventive measure, just in case that any cancer cell got missed in the surgery and the radiation. And I was like, okay, what are the chances for this treatment? And they were like 50-50. I said, no, you got to do better than that. And I'm not going to poison my entire body just in case that you got to do 80-20. I'm not going to do that. So going there from America, it was like, I talked to the doctor, and then I talked to the doctor's boss. And then I said, listen, I'm going to sign whatever, like I signed you a release. Like, I'm not going to sue you if the cancer comes back. I'm making an informed decision, but it's like, I'm not going to poison my entire body when you don't even know what you are attacking. So I have to sign a release. And then they come up with an alternative treatment, which now I discover is immunotherapy, but at the time it wasn't called that. Where I like, oh, all of the sudden they came up with an alternative treatment. So I was like, oh, what the fuck, right? Like, so if I wouldn't have set my boundary for that, I would have gone through the chemo that I don't think it was necessary. And this is not medical advice for anybody listening or going, like, you need to do what is best for you. What I'm encouraging everybody listening is to inform yourself. Know what your options are. So at that time, I still had my period, and the treatment option they offered me was for postmenopausal women. So they had to induce the menopause chemically in order for me to receive that treatment. Okay. See that we're fucking talking? We are getting somewhere. So the chemo wasn't the only option, but I didn't learn that until
I
after
think a
I
lot of
set my
people go through
boundary, and I
this.
was like, this is my body. Yes.
Yes.
So my
Yeah.
doctor, my oncologist, she is a woman, and she said, if I was going through this, I would do it. And I said, with all due respect, you are not. This is my body we're talking about. So
Mhm.
after signing the releases and talking to the attorneys, the hospital attorneys and all that, then all of a sudden they have an alternative treatment. So what I'm encouraging everybody
Yeah. Isn't
listening
that
is
funny?
to find out more information
Yeah.
so
Take
you
care of
can make an
yourself.
informed
Make
decision.
make
Don't go into
choices.
Google University to tell, to tell the doctor what to do. But what I'm saying is ask questions. Find out information. Like,
Mhm.
I live in the fucking computer. I'm like Googling all the time. Like, okay, what are the questions I need to ask? And stand up
Yeah.
for yourself. You need to advocate for yourself. This is my body. It's the only body that I have.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And your body and your health is not always in the best interest of other people, especially when it comes to things like pharmaceuticals. Again, I'm not giving medical advice to anybody here, but I've seen this over and over and over again. It's happened in my life, it's happened in partners' lives. I've seen people die from this, where you get into this healthcare system and they push you right down the stream and they don't let you exercise any choices. And I've seen doctors, I worked in healthcare in a hospital setting for quite a few years, and I've seen doctors actually shame and berate their patients when they don't do the thing the doctor wants them to do, and then become very authoritative and condescending and use all of these really abusive tactics. So we find ourselves in these exact same dynamics, the pattern coming around again and again and again, offering an opportunity for us to work with it. I was really sick. I had Crohn's disease and I was hospitalized for a second time, and they wanted to take out
Oh,
my colon, my appendix, and then bypass all of that. And I was going to have, a bag where all of the waste comes out of. And I had been working in that hospital for about 6 years at that point, and I knew what they were doing, and I knew that they didn't have enough justification for it. Asked a ton of questions, refused the treatment repeatedly. I was in the hospital for a little over a week, and they didn't want to let me leave. Kind of similar, it sounds like, to what you were dealing with. And luckily, I was able to call in some friends that I knew that worked there, and they came in and helped advocate for me. And I still have my colon. And this was back in, 2018. So how about that? 8 years later, I
Wow.
still have my colon, my appendix, and I'm healthy. But if I would have gone down that path,
And
that
you
would have
didn't
been life
die.
changing. And I know so many people,
Right.
yeah, and I'm healthy. And I know so many people where they say you need this treatment here, and it'll be like a chemotherapy. My girlfriend, the same thing was happening. We need to do preventative chemotherapy. In other words, it's a for life treatment. It was the same thing
Yes.
that I was on. I was on an infusion, an immunotherapy fusion, and it's a for life treatment. You cannot get off of this. You're completely dependent on it. Again, we're back in the realm of that abusive relationship where you can't leave. And if you leave, there's going to be terrible consequences. And when I got off of that, everybody went crazy. My doctors tried to shame me and fearmonger me, and they got really abusive. And I told them, no, I'm not going to listen to you. And I got off of that medication back in 2021. Maybe it was 2022. So it's been 4 years now, and I'm healthy. It's great. I feel fantastic. So, yeah, we need to be able to exercise choices, but so many of these medications now are for life treatment. There's no exit plan, and there's no real um, pathway to a healing outcome. It's always going to have these really bad, nasty side effects with the hope of preventing one thing that you were already dealing with. So, yeah, I think it's really important for people to
Right.
um, exercise awareness, exercise choice, expression, and boundaries. And when your doctors, if they start getting really authoritative and condescending and they try and shame you, well, that's an indication that something's not quite right there. And again, you should exercise choice and boundaries and listen to yourself because, believe it or not, your intuition and your gut feelings know best.
Yes. When I went back to Las Vegas after 3 years, I went back to the surgeon and I asked for an oncologist, right? For a referral to an oncologist. And he was like, "What do you want an oncologist for?" Because I had cancer, that's why I want an oncologist. And he refused to give me a referral. So I didn't see him anymore. Like, I was like, motherfucker, like, because he thought that he was God, and he was an asshole too. But it was
Mhm.
like, so in Argentina, I had an oncologist and I had a surgeon, and like I had a team of doctors, right? So I go back and I'm like, oh, okay, like, I want a referral to an and he's like, no, you don't need one. um I'm not asking you if I need one. I'm asking you for a referral. So I was like, and then ended up with, I love my oncologist. He is amazing. So I'm glad that that motherfucker said no, because he would have sent me to another asshole like him. So, but you're absolutely right. We need to follow our intuition because is what we need, what our body and our soul needs. Yes.
And it's very challenging too, because we learn at early ages, just like you were describing, that these are threats. Because when I'm feeling gut intuitions and I'm getting all worked up because I'm being treated poorly, so I get angry and then I express that anger and then that threatens my relationship. So I get into an even worse spot. I learn very quickly that those need to be suppressed. There is no place for an angry boy or for the constant fear that I'm feeling towards my parents because I need the relationship with them. So I learn to suppress all of that. And then I find myself in dangerous situations later on in life. And it can be very challenging to listen to those gut feelings. And perpetrators, these guys, I won't say guys as in men or women, just anybody who's a perpetrator, because it goes across to all the spectrums of who people are. Perpetrators can identify people who don't have defenses, who don't have boundaries, who have learned to suppress all of that, who don't have the protection. and they can identify it with laser precision. And then they find themselves usually in positions of power and authority because they're working through their own traumas, or they're playing out their own traumas. And if they can't be important, then they're going to go get power and status, and then they push their views onto other people. So yeah, it's really important for us to reconnect with those intuitions and pay close attention and listen to them, and then go through the discomfort, because it most times doesn't feel very safe expressing boundaries when you learn that boundaries are dangerous. So when you're talking to that doctor and he's being an asshole and you say, none of that, that can be uncomfortable and very, very threatening in lots of ways, but it leads to something that you're really looking for.
Right. And that's what cancer, I think, came to teach me that, mm-mm, I reprioritize all my priorities change, and I put Zulma at the top. And it's like, oh, okay, you're not gonna give me what I'm asking. I'm gonna go fucking find it on my own. Like, you are not the only fucking doctor in Las Vegas. So I went to my doctor, my primary care, and I'm like, do you have a referral to an oncologist? And he sent me to the best doctor ever. So, but I didn't learn until my actual life was literally threatened, right? By the cancer diagnosis. And it's like, oh, okay. I'm gonna get a hold of my life, maybe for the first time. And and also when
Yeah.
you are
There,
setting those boundaries with the doctor, your family and your loved ones, you had to like set boundaries with them too, because it's like, oh, that's what the doctor is saying. So you not only have to fight with the doctor and the healthcare system, but also with the people around you who don't understand or don't respect your gut feeling and your boundaries. And it's like, okay, I learned to say, you might not agree with this, but I need you to accept it, even if you don't understand. So
yeah,
I try
that
to
comes
explain it
back
to you, but
to a
if
lot
you
of those
don't
parenting
fucking get it,
dynamics. Mm-hmm. That's right.
right?
Yeah, it's just like with the
So
parents
it's
where they
like,
say,
you
"I'm right
know,
because I'm right," and you don't need to.
because I say so. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So and it's like, oh, it gets so tiring because you are doing what is best for you, but you explain it as like, no, the doctor said, okay, but this is an informed decision. And I do believe that
Yeah,
information is power. So that's why you need to inform yourself to better advocate for yourself. But sometimes you get resistance
yeah,
from your loved ones too. So it's not like just fighting the doctor. You have to fight your partner or your sister or your brother or your parents to support you in this decision, because this is my body we're talking about. Well, if I
yeah.
had it,
That's the
I would do it.
dynamic right
Okay,
there.
when you fucking have it, then you make your own decisions, right? Like, you don't have it
Mm-hmm.
right now. I do.
Yeah, and this is where it can be so threatening, expressing boundaries and making choices, because if this is your family who's doing that, that's not a new dynamic. That's been there since the very beginning. So you've always learned not to trust yourself, listen to what somebody else is telling you. I mean, so many systems are in our society are built on that premise. Don't listen to yourself. Don't trust yourself. Trust the authority. And we're going to pump these medications into you, and it may or may not work, but you're going to accept it. And I'm not saying that medications are bad. I think that there's a place and a time, and they can be life-saving for a lot of people. And I do work with a lot of people who got prescribed medications, whether it's chemo or it's antidepressants or whatever it is. They got prescribed them too fast, too soon, for too long a period of time, with no exit strategy. There was nothing in there that was going to say, okay, you're depressed. You have this pain. You don't know how to deal with it, and you're trying to suppress it and distract and to get away from it. Let's learn how to work with that pain. Nobody ever does it. They just say, here's this medication and you're on it for life. And then 10, 15 years later, people are saying, well, this isn't helping me. I still feel terrible and I need something else. So, yeah, it's really important to exercise choice, and the gathering of information. Awareness is the prerequisite for making choices. You can't make a choice if you don't know that there's an
Right.
ability to make a choice. You couldn't make a choice in the relationship before you realized, oh, this is a toxic relationship. But it's really interesting, Sulma. You were saying earlier that you were suicidally depressed, and you were saying it wasn't like there was a plan in place, but it was, well, if I didn't wake up, that might not be all that bad. And then here you get a diagnosis where you might not wake up, and you made choices that were very different from what you used to think. And you were exercising boundaries and expression, and there was a fantastic, wonderful outcome, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely. And I think is like, oh, when you get scared that you might lose your life, everything fucking changes, right? Like, so I think that the pain was so intense in its emotional pain, so you don't feel it, right? Like it's that's why people are self-harming, because they need a release for that pain, and we are not educated enough into going for help and asking and seeing a therapist. And I think not because I'm a therapist, I think we all should go to fucking therapy. Even if you don't have any pressing issues, we need that neutral person in our life to present a different perspective. If nothing else, like, and let alone if you are going through shit. So believe it or not, when I had the cancer growing in me, I didn't have any pain, any physical pain. I discovered a lump on my breast, but other than the lump, I didn't feel sick. I wasn't in pain, nothing. So if it wasn't for the actual lump, I wouldn't have known. So there was no pain.
Was there a was there a time later on where it was physically painful for you?
No, just a normal, the pain from during the recovery process after the surgery with um, the stitches and that kind of stuff, and not really.
Yeah, this is very common with what you've described in terms of depression, which is we bury, we disconnect, we distract to stay away from those physical feelings. And so, identifying those types of pains, we do everything we can to get away from it. And yeah, really learning to be with it and to do something with it, as challenging and threatening as it might be, that is the path forward. And it sounds like that's exactly what you've been doing.
Right.
Very good. What would you share with somebody who's going through it? We already talked about awareness and choice and boundaries as somebody who's gone through it. And if anybody's listening who's in something similar, what would you say to them?
That I'm so happy I didn't die. When I saw death as the only way out, because by I always close my own podcast with, if you woke up today, that means that your mission in life is not complete. Keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you're going to come on the other side of the challenge you're currently facing. The reason why I'm here today is because I never gave up, right? Like, so I kept putting one foot in front of the other in my own way. At that time, it was going to work. Then with the cancer diagnosis, was going and having my treatment and reprioritizing my entire life. And then later on in going to school and having that discipline, right? Like, but we are so caught up into, oh, I don't want to fall. It's like, I think the secret is not in not falling, is about not remaining on the ground. So you fall 7 times, you get up 8. And if you are tired, you rest. So whatever shit you're facing, if I ask you, can you push through whatever shit it is for the next 15 years? You're like, probably not. But if I ask you, can you push through whatever shit for the next 15 minutes? You probably will say yes, because it becomes more manageable. So at the end of the 15 minutes, you rinse and repeat. 4 of those make 1 hour, and 24 of those make 1 day, and 7 of those make 1 week, and so on and so forth. So I am celebrating 14 years of being cancer-free, but I achieved that one fucking day at a time. And sometimes I achieved that 15 minutes at a time. So whatever you are going through, if you can break it down into 15 minutes increments, it's a lot easier to manage that than just to think about the rest of your life in front of you. And any
Yeah.
challenge that we go through can be breaking down into smaller pieces
Yeah. And then in those smaller pieces, it's a lot easier to be kind and take care of yourself.
and setting boundaries about those little
Yeah, that's
pieces.
part of taking care of
They're a
yourself.
lot more manageable.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. That's right. Very good, Sulma. Where can people find you if they wanted to see any of your work or wanted to connect with you?
My Instagram is at the swearing therapist. And my website is dragonflytherapyservices.net. And I have my own show. It's called Keeping It Real with Zulma, the swearing therapist.
Lovely. I'll make sure to link all of those in the description notes here. Before we end the recording, is there anything that you would
Thank
want
you.
to say in addition to the lovely message that we just shared?
Don't give up on yourself. The world needs you, and it needs your perspective. Just be yourself. Everybody else is fucking taken. So we need your vision. We need the input from your perspective. Nobody else can give it but you. So don't give up on yourself.
That's right. You are worth it.
You are absolutely worth it. Yes.